Hello, my name is Robert Dean, and this is your daily Bible class. We are now in the book of 1 Peter, looking at verse number 1 right through to verse number 4. He says this, "To the elders and flock, to the elders among you, I appeal to you as a fellow elder and as a witness of Christ's suffering, who will also share in the glory revealed." So here he is, he says, listen, I'm talking to not only to the elders, but I'm talking to all believers in general. He says, I'm a witness of Jesus Christ, but I've also suffered for him. Now here is Peter, he's talking to a church in persecution. He says, I want you to know something. I have suffered as well. And Peter had. You see, Peter had been chased all over the empire, and he had been put into prison and all kinds of other stuff had happened. He says, suffering is part of the Christian life. Now, many of us don't want to hear that. We'd all like to hear, well, it's rosy and sunshine and everything is fine. But folks, it's not always that way. In fact, Jesus said, don't be expect if the world does not love you. And in fact, in John chapter 17, Jesus prayed a prayer for the disciples that they would be able to be kept from the trials that are about to come on the earth. And here is Peter, he says, listen, we all suffer together. In one way or another, we suffer. And in fact, there are brothers and sisters throughout the world right now suffering for Jesus Christ. So if it's all rosy and sunshine for you right now, be thankful, because one day it may not always be that way. He says, be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care. Watch over them, not because you must, but because you are willing. He says, the shepherds, those who are in leadership, must always remember that they are watching over the souls. They are watching over the sheep that they have been called to watch over. And we're to be diligent in whatever we do. So if you have a responsibility of church leadership, remember this, God is going to make you accountable for that. And you are to be like a good shepherd, watching over the sheep, feeding them, making sure that they're well taken care of, making sure that God and his plan and purpose is being done in their lives. He says, not because you must, but you must do it out of a willing heart. You know, there's some people say, well, God, you called me to be a pastor, but I'm not very happy about it. I've called, you've been called to a deacon or whatever responsibility. Don't look at it as a responsibility, but as a duty, but look at it as a willing opportunity to minister God's grace into someone's life and situation. And he says, do it because you're not pursuing dishonest gain, but you're eager to serve. Don't be looking and say, well, what is it in for me? Do I get some money out of this? Do I get some recognition out of this? Don't do it for that, but do it as a willingness to serve. You must have a servant heart and be a servant leader. He says, not lording it over those who have been entrusted to you, but as an example to the flock. Don't sit there and say, well, I'm the pastor. I am a deacon. I am a church leader. So you must go salami, salami, baloney. Don't ever lord it over. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, there was a movement called the Shepherd Movement. And pastors were coming and interfering in the lives of their congregation, demanding things that God never intended. We are called to be examples. We are to be servants. We are to say, this is how to follow Christ. Paul said it this way, follow me as I follow Christ. That's what Peter was getting across. And he says, when the chief shepherd appears, you'll receive a crown of glory that will never fade away. You're not doing it for recognition. You're not doing it for money. You're not doing it for, pride or any of those things. You are looking forward to the day when the chief shepherd appears. And he says to you, well done, thou good and faithful servant. So this exhortation mostly today is for elders, for deacons, for pastors, for those that serve in leadership in the local church or wherever you serve, whatever you're doing it for the glory and praise of God. It's a great way to start. My name is Robert Dean Steele. This is your daily Bible class. You have yourself a great and godly day.